And the cost of repairing or replacing your air conditioning is rising faster than the temperatures outside.
So it's not just the heat's fault. Folks in the industry blame a new regulation. Fox's Mike Allen joins us now to explain what he learned that will impact you.
Yeah, John, Jacqueline, this is impacting everybody because everybody does have AC here in the Valley. You literally need it to survive. Now, for the last 3 years, the cost to repair those air conditioning units has gone up in part because of the phasing out of an old refrigerant that's bad for the environment. This has caused homeowners, though, to make some difficult decisions.
The quote that I received back in 2020 was a lot lower than it is in 2023.
Evelyn Fleming's HVAC system needed work done a few years ago to the point that she was thinking of replacing it. That was too expensive then, though, and it's totally out of the question for her now.
I'm having my maintenance done regularly so that I can keep my costs down low and make my system last longer.
Fleming had Silver State HVAC, Refrigeration, and Plumbing come to check on her system Friday. It's been a busy couple of weeks for HVAC supervisors like Matt Whalen.
We have seen a rising demand for HVAC no cools. Essentially customers calling in with just no cold air, just simply because of how hot it is here in Vegas.
And when they call for help, customers are being hit with sticker shock. Whalen says prices for HVAC systems have risen by about 25% over the last 3 years, which is 7% higher than the nationwide inflation rate over that time. That's partly because of a nationwide backlog in parts for the new systems.
We are seeing that rising cost here in Las Vegas, and unfortunately it is starting to impact our homeowners when it does come to purchasing equipment.
Whalen also blames that price increase being passed on to consumers on the phasing out of R22 Freon. That's an outdated refrigerant, and banning it since 2020 has had a positive impact on the environment. But since many companies are no longer stocking R22, when it comes time to replace or repair your unit, you might be forced to upgrade to a new system with those more expensive parts. Whalen says if that describes you, you should act fast since prices are showing no signs of slowing down.
If you have an older system that's over 15 years old and you're running R22 Freon, if you do have a breakdown or some type of repair, it's definitely time to start thinking about replacement.
And as it turns out, that is another main driver of the price hike because as more people are forced to switch to that newer, more expensive refrigerant, that increased demand drives up the price even further. Reporting live tonight, Mike Allen, Fox 5 News, local Las Vegas.
As we head into a stretch of days around 110 degrees, it's important to note AC units do start to struggle when it hits 108 degrees outside.